I'm Karen, owner and artist from My Palette to Yours, and I'm a resident artist here at Paint Pixie. So today I am going to use our new Stipley brush and our little 1C, our flat top 1C. I'm going to use this brush today. I'm going to explain a couple things, the differences in some of our brushes before I start the project, and then we'll just dive right in. But I hope that I can help you guys understand a little bit the difference in a few of the terms that we use in the art industry. Just, I think a lot of people, we all have like our words for the things that we do, right? But there's like, I guess there's established terms maybe that that some people use, and so in case you haven't heard some of these terms, I'll use them, and I'm sure that you have, but just in case, I'll kind of share with you my thoughts on a few things. This is our new Stipley brush, and it is just a beautiful brush. It's got a really nice handle. It's, you know, fairly narrow, really good fit in your hands. And I wanted to show you the difference between, this is one of our, this is the little Sarah, the little C. So this is our wax brush, okay? So you can see it's just chunkier brush. So you can see how much thinner Stipley is. So when you're using wax though, like you wanna hold that brush and just, you know, you are pushing in and really pressing. That's not what we wanna do with Stipley, you know, that's not so much. We're gonna usually be pouncing her up and down, or we're going to be scumbling or swirling, whatever we want to call it, when we go into a twirling motion. And wax is the same way. We'll go in circles, we'll go up and down. But this one is kind of like that. I've got a big tool in my hand and I'm going to go for the gusto. And this one is just a little more delicate and a little bit easier to use. You can see the difference in the circumference of these, okay, and the height. So we've got a little height difference. And the circumference of the wax brush is bigger. You can see that as opposed to this. You can also see when I squeeze the wax brush, I can get it to be that size. When I squeeze this brush, I can get it that tiny. There's a use for a wax brush being built the way it is, as opposed to like Stipley, the way she made this. This is a large brush to use with stencils or to use for faux finishes, or you know, you can use it on furniture, you can use it on canvases, you can use it on anything really. I think a lot of people do use it when they use a stencil. So some people will call it a stenciling brush, and I guess that would be a good term because we're using it with a stencil. But a stencil is like when you say I'm going to stencil this on, that's not really the technique. That's more like the use of a stencil in your art. So that means I'm picking up a stencil and I'm going to stencil it onto something. I'm going to use my brush and I'm either going to pounce it up and down, and that's, people will call that stippling. And I think it's because actual stippling is art or drawing made just with dots. And so I think stippling must have come from the fact that when we do pounce up and down with these types of brushes, we pull that paint up in little tiny dots from all these little bristles, and it gives that illusion when we do it as a faux finish of little dots. And so I think that's why a lot of people call this stippling. I call it stippling quite often, or pouncing, but that's probably not the perfect term for it, but that's all right. We don't care about being perfect here. Boy, I hope not anyway. So we've got these brushes. Anyway, I just wanted to share that. And then the wax brush is completely flat. Okay, and if you just looked at this, you might think this Stipley is flat too, but it's not. It has the ever slightest little curve to it. So you know how our oval brushes, they have a very distinct curve? This one has an almost undetectable curve, but there is a curve there. It is not flat and blunt like this. So we are going to get a softer finish with the Stipley than we will with a wax brush when we're using paint. Okay, so those are a few of the little differences I wanted you to know about that. Now, to do our scumbling, and scumbling is like when you just rub something in, like an opaque, you have maybe a picture and you need to darken something. So scumbling is just like scratching it to your picture, like putting it in there. And that's a very common term, scumbling. And there's scumble brushes out there and everything to use. But we can do scumbling in a lot of ways. And one way would be with our usually scumbling is done with a little bit pointier tip, and so our French tip and our little Frenchie, they would work for that, but they will also work for our pouncing or our stippling, if we want to call it that. I'm just going to use that word, stippling. It's just, that's what I've called it for a lot of times. I mean, I do call it pouncing too. I'm not going to lie, it's probably 50-50, but so if I say stippling or pouncing, I mean the same thing. So let's just try to stick with stippling. So we could definitely stipple with these little bristles, okay? Because they come up to a point and they're super soft and graduated. So we could get some really beautiful effects when we're stippling with those. So I'm keeping these out because I might use these today. And then another brush we have is our flat top 1C, and it's got longer bristles and an extremely flat top. So the top is completely flat again. It's blunt like a wax brush, but it's really long and bendy. So, you know, I think a lot of the swirling, scumbling could be done with this, and definitely stippling. You could sit and pounce with this brush really nicely. It's got a pretty decent spring actually for having such long bristles. That spring is really good. So of course this we don't get as much spring here. This is, you know, probably made a little more for that, but these long bristles, they're nothing to, they'll work really well, I think. So for what I'm doing today, it's going to be interesting to see. And then I just wanted to show you my little oval. This one, I just noticed it today when I was cleaning it, that it started out really pretty like this in that oval shape, and I've lost my oval to it because, I mean, look how stained this is. I've used this little baby thing for so many things, and so I start to wear down my bristles, and that is to be expected. I want you to know that is natural wear and tear on a brush, especially a brush that is made so perfectly like these with 70% natural bristles and 30% synthetic. We're going to wear those bristles down. They're going to break sometimes. They're not falling out of the ferrule. There's nothing wrong with the brush. This brush is not faulty. And now that it's got a flat top on it, I have other uses for it. It becomes, I will do a lot of the scumbling now with this one because I have a little bit flatter top, yet it's still that really soft, perfect blend of bristles. So don't ever think just because you lose a little bit of the roundness on our ovals that they are no longer useful. They are. And I have got graphite lines. So I've got pattern lines in here, and this is probably a decade old. I'm not even going to try and erase those lines at this point. They've been on there for so long. What I am going to do though is I'm going to start using our paints, the magical chalk paints, and I'm going to start in my darkest blues and purple and green probably. So I'm going to grab figgy pudding, Christmas cookie, I've got watermelon rind, I've got blackberry cobbler, and then Bon Benny cocktail. All right, I'm going to start with Stipley because it's, you know, the surface is fairly big where I want to work right now. Alrighty, we're going to start out with some figgy pudding. That purple is amazing. I think I'll just put that out and my blackberry cobbler. They seem to be my two favorites to start a dark piece with. Okay, now I've just got a couple petals, and I am pulling out, so I'm still going to pull out my, well, I'm going to just swing this. Sorry for this movement here. Okay, so I am just going to pull out this away from the puddle itself. So I've still got a lot of paint on my brush, but I'm pulling it out here to load, so it's just not dripping. So right now this just looks so horrible, and it's just exactly how it should look. Okay. All right, we're gonna go into our second color now. And that is the figgy pudding. I'm not gonna clean my brush, okay? And now at this point, because we use so much of the blackberry cobbler, we could switch brushes and go smaller if we wanted to, but you can see I still have a ton of orange showing. And so I feel like it will be the best if I just come right in with this purple now. So I'm literally gonna kind of go around this now where the blue isn't. So now I have actually kind of a little pattern to be following. Where the blue, I was just throwing it on. Now I kind of want to get this purple where the blue is not. Okay, so now as I come in with this stippled, now again, this is wet, so it's going to have, you know, we're not going to have smooth blended edges, because, and I don't want smooth blended edges right now. Okay, and then I'm going to come in with my Christmas cookie, and I'm going to start to build some of it. Oh, it looks so pretty. That Christmas cookie with the watermelon rind, because our watermelon rind is a blue-green, it is just like they are a match made in heaven. I love these two colors together. Let's get a little more Christmas cookie right here. It really shows up pretty. Okay, so you guys can kind of see here, if you can see on this inside, I've kind of got all of this part done here. So you can see where we started, and then what this next layer is doing, it's just adding a lot of depth, but I still see little peaks of that orange, purple, and blue, and that's good. If a little bit of that orange peeks through, that's going to be just fine for us. And I think this would actually be a good level for the metallic to come in. So let's throw metallic on before we bring in the lighter blue. And I've got this little baby brayer, but I want to, I'm gonna load it up just in my puddle here. Then I'm just kind of rubbing it on my paper towel so that I make sure I get it all over and I don't have a big glob anywhere. Okay, yeah, this will be a good way to put this on. It's gonna take a few little dips here because I've got a wet surface. So I'm not gonna overwork it. I'm not gonna worry if it's not everywhere. Okay, so let's take a look here what we've got going. Whew, that is looking just really, really pretty.